Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fester, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, February 21st, the day of the week we take our production time, turn it back to 2 p.m. Pacific, or better known as 10 p.m. London time, my friends. We're here to go ahead and talk with all of our friends around the globe about what's been going on in this week in Disclosure and other major world events. Man, it's getting crazy out there on that note. Let's go ahead and welcome in our wonderful audience. Who in the heck do we have out there? If you're in the chat, say hi, and I will welcome you in right now, my friends. Here we go. All right, we have Amanda out there along with Andy W., who's in the chat in the back. We got Anonymous Rex. Avi's there. Good. Long time no see, my friend. Good to have you around. We have Brendan England, Brian Pemble, Craig Smith, Dan Larev is out there, along with Daryl is here. We got Dennis Benke, Dragon Riders in the chat, along with Eliza, TLIC, Firefly, Gainer Andrews, Howling Husky. Junior Brand is out there. Good to see my friend Kathy. Kelly Broughton, those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you as always, Kathy. Kelly. We got King Bull, Max Metals in the chat, along with Megan Betts. Ms. Cuss Out is here. Yeah, she'll cuss you out, trust me. Who else we have out there? We've got Nightshade Giggle, Niles Guy, our resident Pitbull. Watch out, folks. He's got a wrench, and he knows how to use it. Oh, I like how they've put badges now by the mods, not just a wrench. He's got a badge and he's not afraid to use it, and it's blue. Prism Films US is out there along with Sam, Scooby Dooby Gooby, Senior Spark, good to see you, my friend. Shelly Montgomery's Shinobi One Kenobi. We got Shrooby Doo is out there. Good to see you. I think we got Scooby Dooby Gooby. I welcomed you already. Who else we have out there? We've got Super Unknown, Tony D, and rounding it all up, we've got Woodrow Smith. Good to see everybody. Welcome to Disclosure Tonight. Let's jump into the studio if we can. Mike, how the hell are you? You're muted.
Doing well today, Thomas. We're going to have a hell of a show, I think, as a follow-up to our show yesterday.
And the follow-up to our show on Thursday and everything. Yeah, things are kind of cranking here at Disclosure Tonight a little bit with the rejuvenated interest and bringing out the truth about the non-human intelligence. You know, it's been dying for a while, like an apple on the tree that's been left over, slowly rotting away. But you know what? We've got some energy. There's more things going. But the biggest thing, after talking with Nick and others last night, temper your expectation, folks, because, you know, it's not going to be as much as you expect. It's not going to be as quick as you expect. You know, so what we tell all of our audience members when a lot of stuff happens, stay in the middle, be hopeful. Don't go ahead and get overly excited like, oh my God, we're getting everything. No, we're not going to get everything. We're not going to get things that could potentially jeopardize national security. We're not going to hear about the latest weapons that they're building based on this stuff. If anything, Mike, we're going to get an acknowledgement, if you want to call it softer disclosure versus, hey, we're going to bring everything out. But this could open up the opportunity to go ahead and bring more people in the science field into this to try and figure out what's going on. Hey, Mike?
And more witnesses that I think will come forward at that point.
Oh.
They'll have a lot to say, and they'll probably feel now this would be the time to say it.
Imagine if we can get Eric Davis and James Lukatsky uncorked, approved by the president to go ahead and talk about at least some of the stuff they've been working on. That would be amazing.
It would be. You could add Jay Stratton to the mix as well.
Oh, yeah. He was part of the head of the UAPTF. Let's completely uncork Lou Elizondo and even David Grusch. There's a lot of people who have come forward who could say so much more, but they've been shackled by the non-disclosures they executed when they were part of the federal government. That stuff lasts a lifetime.
It does. But yeah, I can imagine if they took the leash off David Grusch, he'd have a lot to say. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that and then some. On that note, let's start off today's show. We've got a 6.5 minute, 6 hours, 6 minutes 45 seconds video of Lou Elizondo. That's why he was so busy last night, Mike. Over on News Nation. So let's go ahead and play this for the audience, and we'll follow up. We've got other stuff, a bunch of other stuff to get to. So let's get to this first one for our audience, and let me get this adjust a little bit and rock and roll. Here we go, folks.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal.
First of all, here's my point. Why didn't it happen already? Okay. Trump then posted, based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant government agencies, departments, to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects. Let's bring in the former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, Lou Elizondo. Lou, good to see you, brother.
Always good to see you. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Now, I know I'm supposed to say, great, because we're going to get more transparency. Why didn't they do this already?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, it's a bit of a Pandora's box. We have known as a nation for over 80 years, 8 decades, that there are things flying in our controlled U.S. airspace, frankly, that we don't know what they are. Now, let me caveat this for a moment. Everything technically is a UAP or a UFO until it becomes identified, right? We call these TNO, temporary non-attributable objects, just like we saw with the Chinese spy balloon. We see with drone incursions quite routinely. Until you can identify what something is, it is, of course, always going to be unidentified. The problem is that we've also been dealing with some fairly sophisticated advanced technologies that does not appear superficially anyways to be our own technology and probably not foreign adversarial technology. So then the real question has to be asked, okay, if it's not ours and it's not theirs, then whose is it and what are we doing about it? And I think that's a much more difficult conversation to have. And certainly if the president is serious about this, which, by the way, I applaud for any president to take charge of this topic, now the real hard work begins. This is not, people think, oh, we finally made it, we're there, we're getting truth and transparency. No, you just had a declaration that truth and transparency is going to be pursued. But there's a huge process, monumental process that has to be undertaken. And if you think the Epstein files right now are kind of a hard topic and subject to try to break free into the public sphere, you ain't seen nothing yet. This topic has a potential to eclipse that of the Epstein files, simply because the government has been sitting on this information for so long. There's so much documentation now within our own holdings, within the intelligence community, within the defense communities, within Department of Energy, that this is a...
Hold on a second there, Mike. He mentioned the Department of Energy. That is the hidden place where all the good stuff is kept.
For the past 8 decades, the way Lou said it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And it's good to see something we've been bringing up, God, since the show's been around.
Yeah, the whole time.
It's where it's at. Now. Oh, God, yeah. All right, let's continue.
This is going to be a tremendous undertaking.
Look, it's not new. One of my favorite bands is called the Foo Fighters, and that's from World War II time. Nighttime pilots had unidentified things that different ones kept seeing, and they called them Foo Fighters based on some cartoon at the time. So it's not new, and we just dealt with it, Lou, in a very different context than the if it's not ours and it's not theirs, who's it? They shut that airspace down over El Paso, and you and I know why. The cartels have drone technology. They've been working with China, and they are able to do things that we don't know how to counter. And it spooked us. And that's what I want to know about is what are we doing about this and why won't you tell us? Right. But I still go back to the original suspicion, though, Lou. Biden didn't do this. Trump came in and said, I'll do it. And you and I were all excited. Trump then comes in and they don't do it. And now you think because he just said that he's going to do it, that something's going to change? Why should I believe it?
Well, I think, actions speak louder than words. I think if we start to see, for example, a bureaucracy that's beginning to align in this direction, for example, the establishment of an executive order from President Trump that says clearly and definitively, you will, by law, declassify XYZ. And if you start seeing, for example, a national intelligence estimate that is now being sponsored by the Director of National Intelligence, perhaps, and even perhaps some sections in the new National Intelligence Strategy that specifically start talking about the topic of UAP, then I think we can both agree that, yeah, there's some real meaningful work being done behind this. And I do believe there's interest by members of the administration. I will say that there are individuals currently right now in the administration that are very keen in trying to get to the bottom of this. There are, if you have private talks with people in Congress, a lot of these people will tell you themselves that they have witnessed extraordinary things that they cannot explain. Now, let me caveat, that doesn't necessarily mean that each one of those is a UAP. see. But when you start to put the information together, me as a former investigator, when you start putting these data points together, you begin to realize you start seeing a pattern, and that's really where the value comes in all this. When you get a clear picture of what you're seeing, and you can then make the determination again that it is not ours and not foreign adversarial. Now, you bring up a great point, Chris, about drones. We saw with the New Jersey drone flap, right? The same issue. And by the way, in Colorado in 2019 and Nebraska, we had a similar event occur over the course of several weeks where law enforcement was involved. And at no time were we able to get or identify or retrieve a single drone, not one drone. Mm-hmm. And if you talk to the law enforcement, they'll tell you a lot of these things were not behaving like drones at all. And so that's what concerns me. If we have something in our skies.
Listen, I'm with you.
We don't know what it is, and there's nothing we can do about it.
That's right.
That's a national security issue.
That's right. I mean, look, what's the explanation that the administration came out and gave us about what happened in El Paso? None. None. We just got distracted by Nancy Guthrie and other things, and people get fatigued. They don't want to talk about it anymore because they heard about it already. The president is trying to make a clever pivot right here because there's some things he doesn't want us talking about as much anymore either, and I understand that. Hopefully, we get some real transparency, because I'm with you, Lou. I'm on Team Elizondo on this, and I'm pushing for transparency, and you're always welcome to do it here. All right, brother, be well, and thank you very much.
Take care. God bless.
Always.
There we go. Great message coming from Lou Elizondo. Salute at the end. Mike, interesting conversation to say the absolute least. It's great to go ahead and see Lou talk about this scenario. What's your take on what he had to say?
I think he was laying it out very clearly for Chris Cuomo about doing a national intelligence assessment on what it is that the government has been hiding in its coffers the whole time. Mm-hmm. That's a step in the right direction. And if we get the executive order out of Trump, which he hasn't issued it yet, but if he does, then I think that's a step in the right direction, and we'll start to see some things come forward.
Yeah. Great points. Now, interesting point coming from Cuomo was that blaming that Trump used this as the wild card to distract from Epstein. Yeah, that sounds like a good poll.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's see.
But honestly, it feels more like it was a coordinated effort. We'll do that. We'll do that as a second survey. Did Trump? Oh God. Distract from Epstein, EPSTEIN. Start the poll. Let's see where our audience goes on this one. Okay, audience, you've got... hey, Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds, please. Okay, Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Sure. 1 minute and 30 seconds.
It should know my voice by now. Let's see where the audience is saying this so far. All right, we've got a 60-40 split, Mike. Let's see how long this goes in a minute 20 if we can. Let's go ahead and start that music we have in the background usually when this kind of thing is going on. Daryl, how would you say on this? Would you say that Trump started this to distract? Yes, no?
No. I wouldn't say that at all. And for the reason why Mike and I were talking about this yesterday, connecting the dots. We're all talking about connecting the dots. Ducey asked the question of Biden, what do you think about Obama saying UAP is real, blah, blah, blah. He trots off with the earpiece in his ear. Ducey's the guy that asked the question on Air Force One that sparked all this. So that's interesting, but more interesting to me is we're all laughing about Lara Trump last weekend, looking like she had a couple glasses of wine talking about a speech that may have been written by the president about aliens. Then, coincidentally, Obama says aliens are real in the same week. And then, in the same week, Trump says you got to release everything.
10 seconds left, audience. Get your votes in.
So it's too many dots being connected there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, with just 3 seconds left, 1 second left. Let me go ahead and take a screenshot of this for posterity, for our audience. We ended off with let's call it a 60-40 split. Close enough. I guess the next question we could say is, I've got one more survey. I want to do a lightning round here. Our next one is start a poll. The next question is, was Trump's statement a handoff of a planned disclosure? Meaning, was Obama's statement followed by what Trump did to follow up? Was that planned? Was it something that was orchestrated behind the scenes to make a planned disclosure? Let's see where our audience goes on this one. Hey Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds, please. Hey Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, 1 minute and 30 seconds. Starting now.
I swear this fucking device is like a kid now. It doesn't want to listen. Oh, that's right, because I have to go in the Google Home app to go ahead and enable Gemini and all that wonderful stuff. Let's see where our audience goes on this one. Well, look at this. It's opposite. Not even 60% of our audience this time, Daryl, is saying that yes, this is a planned disclosure. It was a planned movement between Obama and Trump to open Pandora's box.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all conjecture, but it's just like so many things. I mean, it's three things, that just kind of all aligned in a week. That's just kind of ironic. And I saw Craig had mentioned in the chat that Lara Trump blocked that statement or that whatever back today, but it doesn't make any difference. Obama did the same thing. It had the same production of, letting go of all the alien files.
You said too much, Lara. Take it back.
Yeah. She was the head of the Republican committee. I mean, she's not stupid, and, yeah. I think she was trying to look a little silly on that show, to be honest with you. Because I've seen her talk quite a bit, and it was almost kind of giddy, just like good old Caroline Leavitt behind the president.
Yeah.
Giddy.
Yeah, giddy. Glowing for that fact.
So,
all right, we'll just.
You sure she didn't get like a spanking from Trump, or somebody told her something like?
Yeah, her husband, Don Jr.
She's definitely into older guys. That's for sure. That's a good thing for me.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. We've got a screenshot. Let's go ahead and shut it down. It's a 60. There we go. We got two. We have two surveys in a row. One saying, "Was Trump's statement a handoff of planned disclosure?" 60-40 split on this one. And the other one we had up earlier, did Trump start UFO disclosure to distract from Epstein? We're at a 60-40 split. It seems on a lot of our videos, on a lot of our surveys today.
That's close with the audience. 60-40 is pretty close to 50-50, so yeah.
Yeah, but there's still that 10% lead over the other, which means there's a measurable difference
Majority
between
rules.
50-50. Yeah. It's not like 54, 54-48. It's 60-40 close to it.
Maybe you should always have 3 questions in there just to see if you can see how it splits up even more finitely.
Yeah, we can try that. We can try that. What we need to do is we need to do a test live stream where we can get this going and we can figure it out. And if the audience sees that we're doing a test live stream to figure out surveys, jump in and be a participant on that one. It'll be something that'll be up for a short period of time. We'll figure it out and then we'll get it going. On our next video we've got here, got a bunch of videos today, folks. We've got stuff coming from Paulina Luna, Tim Burchett. We've got an audio clip coming from, Burlison, even kind of trying to take back what happened at Roswell. My God, he is talking too much to Stinkin' Greer. My God. Let's go ahead and get this next clip up of Marik von Rennenkampff, who's involved with the Soul Foundation, and he's been involved in national security issues for a long time. Let's go ahead and get this clip up and going. Here we go, folks.
Are we finally on the eve of a true age of disclosure when all government secrets about alleged alien life and UFOs will finally be revealed? Perhaps after President Trump gave the green light for government files on extraterrestrial life to be released to the public. It is a direction that a growing number of voices have been calling for years, from UFO whistleblowers to top-ranking congressional officials. Here at News Nation, we haven't just been following the story, we've been leading it. 2 years ago, we brought you the eye-opening story of David Grusch, the former Air Force intelligence officer who became a whistleblower and alleged government cover-up of a UFO retrieval program.
I never wanted to do this. But my sense of service, I decided to do this for the right reasons, I think, to hold Congress accountable, hold the IG accountable, and the executive branch accountable, because we have a severe constitutional crisis right now. This is not a laughing matter.
Now that call for accountability could soon be answered. Trump posted on Truth Social that due to, quote, tremendous interest, he is directing government agencies to begin identifying and releasing files related to extraterrestrial life, UAPs, and UFOs. Trump has been dancing around the disclosure topic for years, so this announcement might not be too surprising, coming as it did just hours after former President Barack Obama made headlines on the subject. He said on a podcast he thought aliens were real. The comment lit up social media, and yesterday reporters asked President Trump to weigh in.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
I have to say, the statements that Trump has made has gotten more coverage than any other statement from left to right, from up to down, you name it. It's been covered around the world. So it just shows how much interest there is out there, depending on, irrespective of what party that you're a part of, to bring out the truth. Here we go.
And with that, he ordered the files to be declassified and released, perhaps wanting to create a little viral sensation of his own. But when might we see any of them? There's no word on that, and no word on what those files might contain. And please remember the relative nothing burger of the JFK files release last year.
Bingo.
So how big really is this? We're joined now by Marik von Rennenkampff, who served at the Departments of State and Defense. He's also a contributor at The Hill. So, Marik, you say this is a huge development, but we should be cautiously optimistic. How can it be both?
Hey, good evening, Elizabeth. And I think anytime the President of the United States puts the words alien and extraterrestrial life into a social media post right next to language saying or suggesting that he will order the release of files related to UFOs, that's quite an extraordinary development. And that's especially the case after 80 years of denial, ridicule, and obfuscation from the U.S. government on this topic. That said, as you aptly noted, we have seen precedent for a quote-unquote nothing burger with some of these other releases that had been hyped. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of chatter about this potentially being a political distraction. So I am indeed cautiously optimistic. But I do want to maybe just briefly level set, because a lot of the coverage that I've seen has been quite dismissive of these comments. But at the end of the day, this is an extremely bipartisan issue. Chuck Schumer, of all people, stated on the Senate floor that multiple credible sources have come to Congress stating that the federal government, the executive branch, has illegally withheld information on UFOs, again, from Congress. That's pretty extraordinary. We've seen these hearings. New videos keep coming out. Marco Rubio stated just in December that generals and admirals, the top tier of our military, the United States military, told him and the Senate Intelligence Committee that unreported UFO retrieval and reverse engineering programs have been withheld from the president. So there's a lot of smoke. There's an enormous amount of smoke here. I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's see what happens.
If you've been following the story closely, you know, as you have, and we have, because we've been reporting on it a lot, we know that it's sort of the defense contracting industry that has been really working on, allegedly, this reverse engineering project, taking extraterrestrial remains of or crashed vehicles and trying to reverse engineer them. There's been almost a deliberate attempt to cut out elected leaders, even elected presidents, because they'll be gone in 4 or 8 years. Whereas for decades, these companies with these laboratories are able to work in extreme secrecy on extraterrestrial craft.
That certainly is the narrative that has developed and that has been told by multiple independent sources, and it's a very consistent narrative, which is fascinating to your point. But yes, that is potentially a way of obfuscating Freedom of Information Act laws, for example, of hiding this technology if it has indeed been recovered. Mm-hmm. I will say that Senator Chuck Schumer and Mike Rounds, Republican of South Dakota, have really led the charge in this. And if you look at their legislation, the UAP Disclosure Act, it specifically gets to your point, and it has a requirement for the federal government to assert eminent domain over any and all UAP craft that have been transferred to private defense contractors, and that extends to quote what they describe as biological evidence of non-human intelligence, and that's in black and white, Elizabeth. That's pretty extraordinary. But yes, you're absolutely right. So the question is, if any potential release of information is of government files, and the bulk of the equipment, the hardware is actually in private hands, that does raise a very interesting issue. But we shall see. I, for one, will be watching Tuesday's State of the Union address very closely in the event that President Trump expands on these comments, which, as you noted, have really taken off like wildfire, certainly on social media.
Do you think he might actually do that? I mean, as you point out, there's bipartisan support for this. Very high-ranking members of both parties, Democrats and Republicans, have talked about the necessity of releasing these records. It would be intriguing if he mentioned that.
100%. But you're right.
Really quick, if we want to go ahead and codify this stuff, meaning by Congress, if Trump is going to go ahead and release this information and get it out there, do you think there's a chance, Daryl, for the federal government to go ahead, or the legislative branch to go ahead and codify this with, if you want to call it legislation, that would take this and make it law, where this information must be made public? Because Trump's only in here for a certain amount of time.
It's definitely possible. So, yeah, I mean, and it is bipartisan. So, yeah, I would say if anything's got a chance of passing, regardless of who wins the midterms, that something like that would have a chance.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Mike?
I think that if he expands on this in the national address, then that's a step also in the right direction, because it means that he's pursuing it and following through on it. And it will also change the narrative with the public if it's something on a grand scale like that.
Yeah.
I really hope he does.
I think we all hope that he does for this point, because you know what, this is something, they're not just keeping it out for national security. They're hiding the presence of a completely different form of life from all of humanity. And, President Reagan has said this many times in the past, that what would happen if we had this external threat that was out there that could bring together all of humanity in ways we didn't expect.
He said all of our border wars would come to an end pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's continue on with this. Here we go. And then
getting to a fever pitch, and I want to also point out the film The Age of Disclosure, which did incredibly well. It was the highest grossing documentary on Amazon Prime Video within 48 hours of coming out, and it has Rubio, Senator Gillibrand, Senator Rounds, all these individuals making pretty extraordinary statements. So yes, I think there really is I think we're at a critical mass here. There's really a groundswell of both public and congressional legislative support for true transparency, and after 80 years, it's time.
All right, 10 seconds, because that's all I've got, Mark. Are we ready for it? Because in Age of Disclosure, they talk about the fact that previous administrations had talked about releasing these files and decided that the American public, the world, in fact, wasn't ready to learn the quote, truth.
I think we're ready for it. I think the big question is what happens the day after, geopolitically, economically, socially, and culturally.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. You've given me a lot to think about this weekend. Mark, great to have you. Thank you so much.
Really quick along those lines, if we can get into this for a conversation here. The public didn't freak out. Trump said he's going to bring, Obama talked about it, saying aliens are real. Trump said, I'm going to release all the information to get Obama out of trouble, right? the markets, Sapphire Elf, did not freak out. People didn't go crazy in the streets. People didn't stop going to work. Everything is going on as it should. Coming to us from the depths of Australia, Sapphire Elf, what say you?
I've been saying for a few years that if you do like public surveys, do you think aliens are real and do you think they've been here? It's like 75% of people think they're real and around half the public thinks they're already here. And so I think this old argument of public freak out just doesn't hold any water anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Anyway, that's just a lot.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Along those lines, I hate to say it, but, I love to say this next one. Let me bring this up again here really quick. A lot of people are going to owe an apology to Giorgio Tsoukalos. He's the guy who's forever saying, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. Everyone thought the guy was crazy, but that big hair apparently brought him where it needs to go.
I'm trying to get my Tsoukalos hair going at the moment.
You just need a lot of hair product, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead. And I think we're finished with that one. And our next one, we're going to go ahead and bring up, folks. Let's go ahead and get to it. All right, our next one, we've got a short clip here coming from Matt Gaetz. Believe it or not, he was down at the facility in Eglin. Was it Eglin Air Force Base down in Florida?
Yes, it was. Him and Burchett and Luna.
Yeah, and they potentially saw something. Potentially, they're going to let Gaetz see some videos of bodies or things, but that didn't happen. Either way, let's hear Matt Gaetz, who's now looks like he's a commentator over at OAN. Let me turn off the chat for a second on this one. Over at OAN. And let's see where this goes, folks. First time I'm seeing it as well. Let's have fun.
You've previously said on our program you believe that there are underwater bases that are being accessed through this transit from extraterrestrial beings. Given how many of these sightings are from naval aircraft and naval vessels off the coast of San Diego, is that where you believe some of these underwater bases are likely to be located?
Yeah, if they're there, there's 5 areas in our waters that I've been told by military officials and former military officials that they would have to be, because outside of quantum physics, there's no way something can travel light years. I mean, how are you going to pack for that? I about have to take a pickup truck if I want to travel from Knoxville to Nashville just for all the food and supplies I got to take. So honestly, Matt, light years, that's just out of our realm unless we talk quantum physics, and that's kind of voodoo to me anyway. I don't really understand it at all. I know what they're telling me. I just don't. It's hard for me to grasp. So something would have to be here, either for Millennium or a base of some sort, and that's where it would have to be. That's what I've been told. I hope we get to the bottom of it. I doubt we will, but this is a start.
Well, Representative Burchett brings out a good point on this one, that we've got these things that are here. They probably have undersea bases. He doesn't think they're actually traveling long distances to, like traditional, like drive from point A to point B to get here, which leaves the possibility of what we had a post from. Who was it? Representative Paulina Luna, who we're going to follow up next, talking about wormholes, or we have things coming here from other dimensions. But the reality is, if they're going to be here, they're going to have a base of operations. They want to go ahead and be able to, if you want to call it, survive cataclysms that happen on a regular basis on this planet. The best place they're going to go for long time habitability is going to be the bottom of the oceans. And Tim is on this. It's great to see what Tim has to say. If we can, it looks like we've got Sapphire Elf with his hand up. Go ahead, Sapphire. 3, 2, up. In the meantime, before we get to that, it looks like we just got to have a super chat come in. Let's go ahead and thank Brian Pemble. Dadgummit Thomas. Let's get disclosure now. Absolutely, my friend. We appreciate Brian for starting off the super chats tonight. That's right. We are a fan-funded program, and we appreciate everyone's love and support of what we do here in Disclosure tonight. Thank you, Brian, for being a part of the program in the back many times, and for your continued support of what we do here at Disclosure tonight. On that note, now that we've got that at this point, let's go ahead and shut this down. And let's get to our next video clip coming from Paulina Luna. And I got some tweets on her. We'll be covering.
Dan from chat, and I'll leave.
What was that again, Sapphire? I didn't hear you.
Can I just communicate with the chat? There's lots of people I know from years ago. I've
Yeah.
been through trauma recovery. I'm fine. Can I talk to the chat and just drop out a call?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you got to unblock me though.
In the chat, you're blocked?
Yeah, I'm Puck Elf. You got to unblock Puck.
What is the account name? I'll go ahead and unblock you right now.
Puck Elf. P-U-C-K.
All right, give me a second. Let me go back to, give me a second. Let me just take care of this
Hello,
bit.
Andrew, by the way. G'day, Rex.
Okay, YouTube Studio. I need to go down to here, and I need to see community. Community moderation. Where is that at? User management. All right, I need to go to here and say... Go to here. There's a bunch of people. I guess they're going to show 336 more. Elf. Puck Elf. Okay, you're fixed, my friend. Taken care of. You can go ahead. You are back in the chat. See, all you have to do is ask. All right, Mike, let's go ahead and get on to this next clip we have coming up now. We've got some business taken care of along the way, and let's get to Representative Paulina Luna, who's talking about this situation. Remember, folks, she is the head of the task force for the declassification of national secrets. You know, it should have gone to Tim Burchett. Sorry, Anna, but we love Tim more than you do. You're a wonderful person. But, God, I got another super chat that just came in right now. I want to go ahead and thank on this one before we get things started. Brian Pemble, we had the first one. The second one we just had coming in from, this is Liz W. Thank you for digging through all this info for us. Really appreciate all the work you do. Thank you for recognizing us, and thank you for supporting us, Liz. We greatly appreciate your support of supporting us, supporting you. How about that? Let's go ahead now and get this going with Paulina Luna. Here we go, folks.
Infamous videos that we showed in one of our hearings was actually a video that was dead dropped to Eric Burlison, who's a member of Congress, from within the Department of War, and it shows a UAP, an unidentified air phenomena, deflecting a Hellfire missile. This was taken off of ISR footage off the coast of, I believe it was Yemen. So long story short, there have been briefings that we've received as Congress that leads us to believe that, yes, there is definitely an advanced technology out there that's not created by mankind. And yes, of course, we've seen other evidence where it could potentially be UAPs, and then we later find out that there's drones. But there is a certain amount of evidence that we simply can't explain. Some of the physics that are defied in how these vehicles operate are very interesting to note. And we are not the only government that's, looked into this extensively. But I really do look at this from a lens of national security. And as you know, as we continue to evolve specifically on the front of AI and drone technology, we have to ensure that, A, are these things, whatever they may be, are they potential adversarial weapons, advanced weapons, or not? And I think the whole aspect that the federal government can deny access to members of Congress, of which has happened not just to myself, but to other members of Congress as well, is not just alarming, but it's also something that cannot truly exist in a free and fair society. Government should not operate in secrecy. And so I look forward to the American people being able to determine their own conclusion after they've seen some of the evidence that we have seen. But most recently, Representative Gaetz actually came forward. He was on that initial CODAL with me and Representative Tim Burchett, where we were denied access. And he will tell you that if you've seen some of the stuff that we've seen, you will too become a believer.
Mike, I'd like to hear your thoughts, and anyone else in the back, like Daryl's on this one. I need to step away for a second. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I think that before Trump and Obama made their announcements recently, Luna had said originally that she was going to be reaching out to, of all places, Russia. She wanted to convene and see what they knew about this subject, to see if there could be some diplomatic negotiations to get an answer out of them. But we know that after the speeches that were made and the statements by Obama and by Trump, that as far as the Russian country is concerned, they find this to be a laughingstock of the United States. They're not taking this seriously at all. And their position on it, and I guess that's one of the reasons we haven't heard anything further from Representative Luna on her Russian negotiations, was because they probably weren't taking her or this subject too seriously at that time. But as we know from our friend Gene Sticko, who comes on the show, we know Russia has a hand in this subject as long as we have, if not longer. And they've done a lot of research on it. Gene wrote a book about the research that they were doing over there in Mother Russia back during the Soviet Union back in the 80s. Had a family member that was there working on it. So their propaganda they're putting out about this now is not credible.
Yeah.
It's something that you can't take seriously coming from them.
Unfortunately so. Daryl, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
more political bullshit speech, you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, did she basically say that she now has more authority?
Well, no, she was saying that, I can't wait till the American people can see the proof that I've seen. So she's talking about stuff that she's seen without talking about it, saying, and that she can't wait for the American people to see this evidence as well. So at least from her perspective, as the leader of this task force, she knows kind of some of this level of stuff that should be brought out.
I want to see she originally went down to Fort Walton Beach, to Eglin Air Force Base, to see the video that they captured or that they took of what Gaetz described as 3
UFOs, aliens, and
following around some big giant orb. Anyway, there's video of that apparently.
Yeah,
and they know there's video of it because they wouldn't let her see it.
I mean, there's video that's out there. There's a video out there that Lou Elizondo talked about, Daryl. That's where it's high definition, it's very clear, and you can see the occupancy of the craft. Meaning, you can see the occupants. That there are occupants in this particular craft. Which, if we can get that kind of stuff out more than what she's seen, that would be amazing.
No, but I will take. I mean, I'm just saying from her personal interest in the story, because she did not like being told no. I hope that she goes and gets it. I'll take any proof right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great points, my friend, all the way around. Before we get into our next piece, let's go ahead and just take a step back. Remember what David Grusch had said in the past on a News Nation exclusive with regards to David Grusch, what he had said. And then we've got our next clip coming up from GB News of Annie McGrillen, who's from that UFO podcast, appearing, talking about what's been going on. It's great to see coverage on this that's from around the world and positive towards our point of view. So on that delay, let's go ahead and get this one video up, and we'll play this one next. And here we go.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles.
Can't wait to see when this stuff comes
spacecraft,
through.
if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
And this is the stuff hopefully Trump is going to bring forward, my friends.
Many.
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me. They were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
You are alleging that the US government has been concealing the existence on this planet of alien life.
I would couch it as non-human intelligence, NHI, like we would like to say in our language.
Why do you say that? Why do you say NHI?
I don't want to necessarily denote origin. I don't think we have all the data to say, oh, they're coming from a certain location, and I couch it as somebody who studied physics, where maybe they're coming from a different physical dimension, as described in quantum mechanics. We know there's extra dimensions due to high energy particle collisions, etc., and there's a theoretical framework to explain that. Yeah.
Just let me cut to the quick though. You're saying there is an intelligent species engaging with this planet.
Yes, that's potentially extraterrestrial. Yeah.
I speak for everybody sitting at home. That is a shock.
Yeah, it's one hell of a shock, but it also comes down to the situation. We may be looking at, another life form that's here on this planet that's much more advanced than we are and has been, if you want to call it, involved in humanity and, has been here longer than us, which could means they had their hands in the creation of humanity. Daryl?
Yeah, he had an interesting word in there. Potentially extraterrestrial. So, yeah. Definitely.
Well, we don't know. We don't have the answers. And if we think we're going to get everything out of Trump about what all the answers are, what's going on, no, we're not going to hear a lot of this stuff until we potentially hear it from the non-human intelligence itself.
Right. Well, if there's some amazing, undersea mall or something I can go shopping in, that'd be cool.
Hey, it's the safest place to be. We're all going to be wanting to have under ocean houses to go ahead, or underground for that point. Living above ground is kind of like the three little pigs who made their house out of straw or out of sticks. It's not going to last when it comes down to, neither will the house of bricks when the water comes across the planet for that matter. You're going to have to be underground, a safe place to be. God, Daryl, it sounds like there's going to be an entire different marketplace for underground builders.
Yeah, maybe some guy who has a company called Boring, as in boring through the earth.
Boring Company, yeah. You never know. We're not going to be able to get everybody to the moon, but we'll get a bunch of people underground where it's going to be safe. On our next story, we've got information coming to us from gbnews.com in this particular instance, but it came from GB News Live in the UK. Let's go ahead and we've got Andy McGrillen in here. Who was on initially about a week ago talking about Obama's initial statement, now talking about Trump's orders to go ahead and release the U.S. alien files. I love it. This is wonderful, my friends. Could not get any better from this. Well, it will once the information comes out. So here we go, folks.
Here we are again. It's a few days on from my last appearance where we had one president talking about UFOs and aliens, and now we have the sitting president talking about UFOs, aliens, and not only that, things seem to have amped up, like you say, where he's now instructed Secretary of War, Department of War, and other relevant departments he's not used the word declassify, but release files. So I think that's an interesting, we have to be careful with the wording on that, that what we're going to get we don't know, but I think there's certainly an opportunity here for a very interesting time ahead.
Now, of course, since we last spoke, President Obama has released a statement on Instagram sort of clarifying his comments, saying that he was asked, are aliens real? He said yes, but he's now said that was a personal opinion rather than something born of any facts that he as president uniquely got to see.
Yeah, if we want to be really careful about wording, and Barack Obama's a very eloquent and erudite man. He has a very, astute background in how he speaks. He said he never saw evidence during his presidency of extraterrestrial life. Now, he still gets classified presidential briefings afterwards, and it's been a while since Barack Obama was president. So in that time, has Barack Obama seen information or learned information that would lean him towards there being something non-human? And you can even take away he never saw evidence of ET. That doesn't mean it's not crypto-terrestrial, non-human, interdimensional, any other kind of phrase you could throw out there.
You're not just sort of picking, I mean, he's on an informal podcast. He's not really thinking that carefully about every single word. Are you tempted to go down that sort of slightly too conspiratorial link there?
I think, given the last couple of months and what's been covered on the news on an hourly basis, including by yourselves, conspiratorial goes out the window now, doesn't it?
Okay. Well, Andrew, I'm so sorry we've run to the end of the hour. But
oh my God. What is that? What the hell is even that? I've got a video clip on that one somewhere. Let's go ahead and, oh boy, let's go ahead. Interesting, Andy McGrillen, to go ahead and talk about this particular situation, where we are in the United Kingdom. Mike, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, what the hell was that? Was right. You're not joking. Yeah, I mean, look, Andy is making the same points, I think, about this that we've been making. We still need to see what's going to actually come out before people can, make a determination as far as what's real and what isn't. And also in regards to him having a point about maybe it's not extraterrestrial, could be interdimensional. Well, we've already had
or cryptoterrestrial,
David
meaning
Grusch
it's been
talking
here.
about it.
It's from an older civilization that advanced and figured out the disaster cycle and was able to go ahead and protect themselves when the planet turns itself over and wipes out the surface. They made it, which could be means they're millions of years advanced on humanity today.
Exactly. So it could be any one of a number of things. We have to wait and see what we get, what comes out.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. On our next one, we've got a post coming from Representative Eric Burlison. Yes, the Burly Man is around, my friends. He says, while I remain skeptical about much of the reporting on UAPs, it's very clear the government knows something. The public does not. This is from an audio clip, probably, I believe, from a radio station. So let's go ahead. This is coming from Representative Eric Burlison's Twitter feed. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see it. Make sure we've got it here. All right, we know where it's coming from. Let's go ahead and play this audio clip so everybody can hear it. Here we go, folks.
I still remain skeptical on this topic. I don't believe that there's necessarily little green men from another planet. But what I can say is that there's so much attention and speculation, and we continue to see and record and document objects that we cannot explain. And I have been in briefings, I've been in secure settings where I've seen classified videos and information. It's obvious that there's something out there that we don't know, we can't explain. Now, there's reports that we have we have crashed vehicles and that we're reverse engineering all this. There's reports that we have biological bodies and all of this stuff. And I have yet to validate any of that. But what I can validate is that there are objects that are using unconventional propulsion technology that is beyond our capabilities.
You know, this just begs the question of great debate. Burlison says, we don't know anything about these things, where they're at, where they're coming from, potentially what they're doing. Do you think the DOD really doesn't know anything, or do you think they're trying to cover all this shit up to go ahead and, if you want to call it, only give the minimal information to people of Congress because they don't need to know? Brian, on that subject, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Burlison is hedging his bets here a little bit. I think he probably knows more than we think. Remember, he had David Grusch on his staff, and I think still does, right? I don't know if what Grusch is done, but Burlison has also had the ear of President Trump recently. And so I can't imagine that any of that stuff was not passed on, or that Trump may have been briefed or passed on info back and forth. So I think there's probably, I'm just speculating here, but I think that this is kind of a nexus of information between Burlison and the president. But I do think he's hedging his bets literally until he physically sees something.
Honestly, in the terms of someone running for president, I would think Tim Burchett has a better chance than Burlison because he's so honest and calls things out. He's a common sense kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see Burlison or Burchett run for president one day. But I guess what I'm saying is that he's had the ear of the president recently. Burlison has.
Well,
and
you've got him. You've got Paulina Luna. But, who's even more than that? You've got Lara Trump, who's part of the family for that matter.
Exactly right. And then even she was kind of couching her stuff in somewhat cryptic terms. I don't think that any of this is an accident. It's not happening in a vacuum. I think that this is probably planned. And I'm really hoping, so once again, a speculation here, but that there will be a rollout in the next few months.
There's been also some statements that have been made about Burlison kind of saying that, maybe Roswell didn't happen. Maybe it was just a front for something else that was going on. All I have to say is Burlison needs to get farther away from frickin' Dr. Stephen Greer. Mike, your thoughts on that one? Or not? Brian, anybody in the back?
Mike must be on the phone with Greer right now, or perhaps on the phone.
Someone else, yes.
No, I was busy cursing that name. No, I don't think Burlison's affiliation with Greer is really helping disclosure in any way. Not for the government, not for the public. So, yeah, that was a dreadful mistake he made, an error in judgment. aligning himself with that man. But we know that because, we've been talking about this for a very long time.
Oh, God, yeah, for far too long, my friend. It's one of those things you look at and you hope it's not going to happen and you hope it's going to go away, but it doesn't because he is there. He is a force and potentially has been paying people based on tweets we've seen from or messages we've seen from Pop-Tart that he has been funding people on X to go ahead and diss Lou Elizondo and promote Stephen Greer, like what do they call it? Hood Greer, for that matter.
Hood Greer, yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, it's awful. It's just something that the people that are in Burlison's office should be telling him to avoid like the plague.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he's like a bad penny. He keeps popping up around Greer. It's just something I don't agree with.
Yeah, there you go. And the expression of Burlison here when he's with Stephen Greer looking at the supposedly mummies. But here's the thing. Everyone was saying, oh, my God, look, it's the mummies. They're aliens. No, if it does turn out they're another form of life, we're just looking at something that potentially, what the hell happened here in this one? This is something that is a different form of life. It doesn't necessarily mean it's alien, does it?
Well, no. Didn't they recently debunk Jaime Maussan's mummies again?
Oh, God, they've come out and said, yes, they are human in origin, and, we have people who are going ahead and creating these to go ahead and make millions of dollars and, grift their way into retirement.
Well, if you take a good look on the Mexican side, the Jaime Maussan network is pretty similar to what Greer has going on over here. So, yeah, that goes hand in hand with the grifting.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
But it's just, it's a topic where there's so many people who are interested in what's going on, and it works down in Central America and South America where they're a little bit less, have a little bit less discretion on what they believe and what they don't because it's part of their culture.
Well, it is. Also, over there, they're highly religious. They believe in, Christianity. And anything that comes across like another type of religion, they tend to be attracted to.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. That's a good point. I agree.
Did you see Mick West's comment, by the way, on X?
No, go for it, Daryl.
No, he just said Trump is obviously joking, but people have hope.
Oh, God, Mr. Copium himself.
I've had these flashes in my head about, disclosure and getting on a spaceship and going to Alpha Centauri, and everybody's in line with smiles on their faces, and right at the front door is Mick West protesting with a sign that says, "It's a balloon."
Right.
Not it's a cookbook, it's a balloon. All right, on our next one, we've got the co-conspirator along with Lou Elizondo. Remember, Lou Elizondo had those videos. He declassified them or got them to be to a lower level of classification and handed them off to Christopher Mellon. And that's what started this whole thing in 2017. We've got an X post yesterday from Christopher Mellon. Let's read to it and let's get into it, my friends. Let's go ahead and find this. Here we go. Make this a little bit to the left and a little bit smaller. I'm just trying to. Yes, if the text is big, I'm doing this for all of our friends who are on mobile phones, which is almost half of our audience, if not more. Let's get to it. To the extent they follow through, this is a normally positive development, and I commend the administration for taking this step. That said, virtually all relevant documents are classified, and identifying and declassifying them will be a lengthy, complex process. My concern is that an executive branch effort, if snarled in turf fights and classification nuances, meaning what he's talking about are those career bureaucrats who don't agree with where the president is going because they've been there for 20 years plus and they're not going to listen to it, and they're going to slow walk this stuff as much as they can to prevent the truth from coming out. And that's what he's talking about. Couldn't end up being misleadingly partial or incomplete, because they're not going to give us the truth, because they don't want to. As we've seen recently with unrelated disclosure efforts eyeing Congress. to support the administration's intent by enacting a legislative framework that concretely structures, authorize, and directs a comprehensive disclosure process, both to encourage and help the Trump administration get this done. This is so important, Mike, meaning that Trump is going to be there for a period of time and then he's going to be gone. We want to get something put into law by Congress that requires all these parts of the executive branch, from the DOD to the CIA to the Department of Energy, to make this information open to the public. Now, a lot of people are concerned in the military-industrial complex. Oh my God, we may be going ahead and inspiring our enemies on this technology. Where we're going, well, just, you know what? The top ones in Russia and China already know the same stuff we know, if not more, because they've opened this up to figure it out to more of their audience, versus in the United States, where we only have a small number of people who are allowed by the military-industrial complex, the Department of Energy, and hidden parts of the executive branch to bring out the truth. Mike?
Yeah, right here. If he wants Congress to take this more seriously, Trump is going to have to sign an executive order declassifying the files that they've been hiding. And once that information starts to come out to the public, not Congress, the public, and they start to see exactly what's been going on, there will be such a huge support pushing Congress and our representatives to get that legislation passed, like when David Grusch testified at the UAP hearing on July 26, 2023, the public started to take this a lot more seriously. We saw a lot of upswing. It would take that at this time to get the public to start to recognize that this is something pretty serious. And in the public address that is coming up with Trump, if he mentions this and expands on it, then I think that will start to push things moving in the direction that it started on back in 2023. So hopefully we get things moving along those lines to get the public to start to support
we need to. Now, looking at some replies to Christopher Mellon's tweet, where Chris is actually responding, I agree, but Congress can't get one of the most fundamental pieces of legislation on the floor with 80% public approval. Where does he come back? This is certainly an issue generally, but the passage of the Epstein Transparency Act, not an insignificant counterexample in my mind. This, Brad says, this is where all the pregame bipartisanship groundwork will heavily come into play, and I appreciate you and all the others that have done to point this way. It takes a wealth of experience to unravel the complexity. Thank you. And this really comes in and hits the point, Brian, that we need bipartisanship to really bring disclosure forward. This can't be brought forward by one party or the next. Your thoughts and what you had to say before.
Absolutely, and I think we have the votes to do it. It's just a matter of what happens when these bills get buried in committees. They get completely undone. And we've seen it happen time and time again. I would actually be curious. We've got the State of the Union coming up on Tuesday. I would be curious to see if Trump mentions anything on this topic. If this maybe was a precursor leading in to the State of the Union. I'm not saying he's going to. I don't have the speech.
So you're not the first person to say this. We're going to take the State of the Union as a litmus mark to see if this is big enough for him to mention it.
Yeah, because this is a joint session of Congress, and so he's going to be delivering that not only in front of congressional members.
This might make a great poll, actually, because I 100% believe he'll say something about it.
Yes, and just so you know who also attends the State of the Union, not only the congressional members, but you've got the Armed Services Committee, so you've got it. All of the head of generals there. You've also got the Supreme Court and everybody. So, let's keep our fingers crossed that he does, because I think that would go a long way into furthering the legislation.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time.
Go ahead, Christian. Yes.
Calling Congress. I'm kind of pissed off personally because I'm in Minnesota, and like yesterday, I had I can show you the videos later.
The city hasn't burned down, has it?
No, but there was like the mystery drone things that were all around, and they were heading right towards the airport. And I got a bunch of footage, and then I called the FAA. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna call the FAA, the airport, and they hung up on my face.
They hung up, really?
Dude, I'm like, hey, I'm a concerned citizen, and like they knew, man. I'm telling you, like, there's no way they didn't know. And I kind of wanted to get into, because I noticed that when these drones are around, the normal airplanes, they know they move somewhere else. They don't go there, and as soon as they leave, then you start seeing regular planes again.
So they're knowingly diverting traffic as air traffic controllers around where some of this stuff is, shutting down some lanes, if you want to call it, of planes coming into land and take off. Once those things are gone, they open the traffic to more planes and such.
Exactly.
Interesting enough. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's just a lot of things happening. Now, Daryl, you said you wanted to bring up a survey. What was the survey, my friend?
Whether or not we think Trump will bring up the fact that he disclosed that he said to have the alien files, or however he termed it, released. If he'll mention it in the State of the Union.
Okay, gotcha.
And I just think there's three things that have happened so quickly and altogether to him to come to this conclusion to release them. And I have to believe that there is a reason why he's doing it pre the State of the Union.
All right. So here we go. Trump will mention the alien files, as you call them, in the upcoming State of the Union, folks. This is going to be happening on Tuesday this week. Let's see where audience takes this. We could be, oh my God, we are 50-50 split already with 60% of our audience in, 53% now. Let me go ahead and get the music up that I always forget to turn off. So our audience, let's get, okay, Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Sure. 1 minute and 30 seconds.
All right, there we go. There you go, audience. You got 1 minute and 30 seconds to go ahead and react to this survey round to see where you think. Will Trump mention the alien files or disclosure of it in the State of the Union? We've got almost a 50.
One more thing about why I believe this so strongly. Because Trump would never lend a hand to help Obama in any way. So I know it was staged. I mean, it was just the reason to give the declassification or to give the order to have them declassified or whatever the hell that everybody thinks he did. I'm still not sure exactly what he did. Release the files? What does that mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, you look at this one. This one's really tight, 49 to 51%, which is 40 seconds left. This is your chance. We got 57 votes in audience. Place your vote, but this is one of the tightest surveys we've had so far. We're at a 50-50 split almost, 49-51. It's close enough to call it even.
I think that's really, really interesting.
I also think it's really accurate because we and the public don't know which way this is going to go. He could say something in the State of the Union address, or he may not. It's too soon to tell. I certainly hope he does. That would give more credence to the statement that he made about this. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens on Tuesday at this point.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I am going to end this poll. We're at 52-48, and I didn't go ahead and take a screenshot of it for posterity, but our audience has spoken, friends. We're at basically a deadlock of a 50-50 split. Let me step away for a second here. Let's go ahead and bring this down here. I need to get a screenshot of this at least. Where did it go? All right, let's bring it up to here. All right. We are at a 51 to 49% split. If you want to bring this up, Brian or Mike, go ahead. I will step away for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, if there was ever a screenshot to get, Thomas, this is the one, in my opinion, because we can come back to it later and see where we think it's at. I think Daryl's correct, by the way, that if he does mention this in the State of the Union, that this is all planned, which I believe it is as well. That that everything leading up to this, the tweets and everything with the headset, if he mentions it in the State of the Union, then there is a plan in place. In my opinion, if he doesn't, I don't know. I think that would be inconclusive.
I'm just going to give you one other little data point that I recognize. I've been to 3 Trump rallies. I have watched every Trump rally. I've watched pretty much every interview. There's something about this. He has this cocksucker grin on his face that he doesn't normally have when he said.
Okay, you saw that too on the plane. Right?
Yeah,
it was on the plane.
It's a face you rarely see the guy make, and I'm trying desperately to remember where I've seen this before because it's a tell. It's a tell of what is going on. Like, and fucking Caroline Levin back there, excuse my language, glowing, like Thomas was saying. It's almost like it was staged. It's almost like he was looking for approval for his act or something. You know what I mean? With that grin on his face. And it's weird. It's a weird deal.
Okay, I saw the same thing, Daryl. When he was on that plane, there was a different face on Trump, and he was kind of smiling like he knew something that you people did. What do you guys think, huh? What do you it's already in the works. I would agree with you. I study politics quite a bit. And that's kind of the exact same thing that I thought, Daryl.
Well, we also know that his son, Don Jr., is a big advocate on this subject. So it hits pretty close to home for him, talking about this and addressing it with the American people, the public, the people. So I think that he's getting pushed probably in a few different directions to pursue this. Let's see if he addresses it at the public address. That would really, I guess, give us more data points as far as where he's coming from with all this.
I would agree with you, Mike. And if there's anybody that wants to disclose the existence of non-human intelligence, you need somebody with the ego of Trump to do it. I guarantee you he would want to. And if Thomas was back, but I mean, he would be the guy.
And another thing, I can't help but continue to think about this for some reason. When we think of the timing, there's obviously a timing or cadence to what's happening, a very quick cadence. And it just makes me wonder if Steven Spielberg's movie isn't somehow a part of that timeline.
Who's part of the timeline?
What if it actually is the day of disclosure? What if it is the aliens talking to us? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, you never know. But coming to us from Paulina Luna, we have a tweet that came to us yesterday at 1:22 p.m. Pacific. All it shows is something that's called a wormhole, showing that instead of going the long distance from one spot to the next, they're actually traveling in a direct space from point A to point B like that. Could this be Paulina Luna going ahead and trying to say, yes, we're dealing with things, we have an idea of how they're getting there, how they're getting here?
It obviously is what she's trying to communicate. I'm glad to see she's getting an education as a congressperson.
Glad to see some posts that don't include a swimsuit.
Her campaign photos, that we've already played on the show here,
Yeah. No caption, no nothing, just a really good picture of a wormhole. Which wormhole is it? Yeah.
Well, we already know that David Grusch testified under oath and stated that there is extra dimensional technology at play, and the government is aware of it.
Yeah.
So anything coming from her at this point on that subject, I don't consider it to be original coming from her.
Yeah.
In my opinion. He's already repeating what we've already heard.
Oh, gosh, yes. Echo chamber, my friend. I guess that's what we truly call an echo chamber of what's going on.
Right.
Now, talking about what's going on around the world, if we set our sights on, well, this isn't the one, but we'll get to it. Yes, This deals with their friends over in Europe at this point. Let's go ahead and bring it up. Around a dozen F-22s passed through the UK on their way to the Middle East. And over in Salt Bay, Greece, people are spotting F-35s, A-10 tankers, transports, and the whole lineup. Why? Because apparently, Mike, the United Kingdom, more importantly, Keir Starmer, has said that the United States cannot have any of their equipment in the UK that is being dispersed and sent across to Iran at this point in time.
Which is really odd because, Britain is supposed to be an ally of the United States. Why would they block us like this?
I don't have any idea. Any thoughts from anyone in the back who maybe from the UK who could say their possible understanding of why he would block it? Do they not agree with potentially what the United States is doing?
Files. Right. Sorry, because I know Alice has had her hand up for a little while. Can I very quickly jump in this?
Please do, Andy.
I think I'm from the UK. They didn't actually block. I don't believe, this is my own understanding, they didn't block the aircraft from passing, transiting through the air bases. They just stopped them from actually using them for actually attacking if they do hold an attack.
So if they go from the UK, Fairford, or wherever they're at, and they fly directly to attack, UK said you can't do that from our land. But if they're coming in and they hop, skip, and jump from the United States to United Kingdom and go across to Greece, who's opened up their air bases to us, thank you for that, that can happen.
I believe that's the case. Yeah, these guys are flying, thousands of miles across the pond, so they're going to need a rest up. So I think that's actually what's happened. They've not completely refused them to fly in and out of the UK because they've been doing it for weeks now. They've actually just refused them. You can't do like they did in Gulf War II, is sending the B-52 bombers to bomb directly from Fairford. I saw the things flying over my head when they went, but I do believe they've allowed them to transit through, but not actually undertake combat missions from our soils.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. I've got another clip here coming in from Crete, where UK says no to Trump, Greece says yes. Today's UK not so friendly to the US can count on. PM Starmer has blocked the US from using RAF air bases. Greece, however, a reliable friend and ally to the U.S. has given the green light for it to use our bases. And here we got a video of what's going on in Crete right now with a lot of our tankers and transports and everything lining up on the airports there. So we'll have to see where it goes. Alice, go ahead.
I'm back to Trump and disclosure. I kind of feel that it's a ploy at this point. I don't know the reason, but I don't think it's going to be as big as everybody thinks. Well,
nothing ever goes as big as anybody thinks. I guess it comes down to, contain your expectations, stay in the middle, know that something's going to come. It's never going to be as much as we want. Alice, it may just be, as Lou Elizondo has said in the past, it may just be an acknowledgement, which in its own opens a lot more things for the general public to understand.
I think, thank you. I think Obama, the way I read it, he didn't really want to say it, but maybe he was told, hey, let's break this open. And he kind of made the statement where he was like, hey, I don't really want to say it, but yeah, I'm going to say it.
But he said it a bunch of times in other interviews in the past. This isn't the first time, but this is the first time he kind of crossed that line and actually acknowledged it and said, well, aliens are real.
He even said in the last election, I remember there was an ad where he said, and we're the party that gave you aliens.
So it's not a big disclosure from Obama either. And the face.
Well, not until we get all the papers out. No, they're just saying there's something there. Now we're going to turn to all the different parts of the executive branch to start bringing out the truth.
Okay. And just one other thing, the face with Trump. I think that's his face when he's giving something away. Like he knows he's kind of full of BS with this, and
I have to completely disagree. Who did you vote for in the last election, Alice?
I was. I'm taking the fifth on that.
Okay, so you voted for Biden. We got you. You know, we're all on different sides of this. I try to stand in the middle, and I'm going to look at this and say, you know what? This is something that the American people deserve. Let's throw identity politics off to the side. We've got support from the left, from Obama. We have support from the right coming from Trump. It seems like there was a handoff. And you know what? If this is what we can get outside of identity politics, I'll take whatever we can get.
I agree. I don't understand why it mattered who I voted for.
Well, it does, because in the tone you're taking, I would just want her to know potentially where you're coming from, because everybody has a bias in it, potentially.
But Obama and Trump, it's Democrat and Republican. It's not really one side.
But I know, but if you're looking at one side more critically than the other, it could be because you support one side more than the other. That's okay. We're cool with it, Alice.
I just so you know, I'm not very politically minded.
Well, good. Thank you, Alice. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
greatly.
I think there's good people on both sides and bad people on both sides.
How about all politicians? Let's just throw them all under the bus.
Well, that I can't
Have
say.
you ever found an honest politician who didn't accept a free cup of coffee, which would be considered really a bribe? No, you haven't.
There are also people on no sides in both parties, because there is no other significant party where your vote makes a difference.
Yeah.
I've basically been no affiliation most of my life.
Well, same here. I voted for Obama 3 times. I've voted for Trump 3 times.
I have voted for Trump. I just personally don't like his postures. That's all. It's
yeah,
not
that's
really
okay.
Political.
Everybody sees this a bit differently, and we appreciate your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
Getting into a little bit more political things for our friends over the United Kingdom, I've got a video clip here that I think you'll understand. Yes, it's happening again in the United Kingdom. Our friends, our patriots, our people who love the United Kingdom for what it's about, are out marching again in the streets, coming from God Save Great Britain. Patriots waving British and English flags have completely gridlocked Manchester city centre in a major fight back against immigration. In other words, they're tired of their country getting overrun, their communities overrun by immigrants who are coming in, where they're getting major funding, they're getting housing, they're getting food, and the people who are there who've been paying the taxes, the actual citizens of this country, are actually getting kicked to the curb. And you know what? The people who live there are fighting back. Let's get to this little 43-second clip.
You're a star, mate. We love you. Well, as you heard from the leader of Britain First himself, today marks Manchester for the English, and this is one of the first times a major right-wing political party has talked about remigration, the concept of the repatriation of people who democratically, risk the security of our people.
There you go. It's happening, Andy. People are coming out across the country once again. There are even some anti-protesters of Muslim orientation who are going and attacking some of the people who are out there, but they quickly got chased by thousands of people. So it's great to see what's going on in the UK, and people are doing what they can to stand up for their rights. Kyle, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as far as the UK and their airspace, most of the craft are operating out of Jordan. They're landing on the edge of Jordan and Iraq, and that's surprising because that's a small air base. But the UK has been running flights over there almost nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Some into Jordan and a lot into Cyprus. So Starmer's full of shit. I've seen fighters land in Jordan, UK fighters.
Yeah. UK media calling, this is coming from Lord McCormick out of the United Kingdom. He's a cook over there. We haven't seen in a while. Thank you for that super chat, my friend. UK media calling Union Jack flags as far right. You can't make this shit up. Yes, they're calling out the people who are going out there and saying these aren't patriots. These aren't people who value the, what United Kingdom is. They're calling them far right. You know what? Even if it came out before, we had earlier this week, we had Keir Starmer calling these types of people terrorists. Does this look like terrorists to you, Jay?
No, it doesn't. I mean, all they're doing is just walking around. But I mean, they're saying what they believe. It's not like they're busting in windows or, causing trouble or anything like that. I don't see any of that. I see them speaking their mind. If you check out, Thomas, I thought it was curious. I emailed you something, a post on Facebook that's going out. The Black Vault servers got erased yesterday, and he had to back the entire server up.
So the Black Vault got hacked, and his servers were deleted.
He came in and had to back up
restore
back up the entire server.
He had to restore the server because something happened with the server and his entire archive.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had a backup. There's something called high availability, HADR, which stands for high availability disaster recovery. And it sounds like he had either in another region or someplace else, he had a full backup of that particular platform. Mistakes happen. Stuff happens all the time with regards to, data being lost. But, it's great that the Black Vault went and followed best practices for, digital content to make sure in case of a mistake or in case of a disaster, you can bring it back. What was that again, Jay?
I said, always have a backup.
Always have a backup, and sometimes you need to have a backup of your backup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get back into this. What else we have got going on? Interesting, a friend of the British Prime Minister, let's get this coming to us from GB News. British Prime Minister exploited his power to help Islamists avoid trials while cracking down on white British people for being Islamophobic. The global establishment in the UK must keep on getting exposed. Let's go ahead and play this clip to go ahead and keep everybody up to date on what's going on in the United Kingdom, the attack on free speech, more importantly, the attack on the citizens who live there, and they just want to keep their country for what it's fought for in World War I, World War II, what they've put into it from getting destroyed completely. Let's go ahead and play this next clip here. Where is this at? Here we go.
There are yet more calls for the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, to resign or be sacked after it emerged that he declined to review unduly lenient sentences for terrorists and paedophiles. Lord Hermer did nevertheless sign off the prosecution of Lucy Connolly, who received a 31-month prison sentence after pleading guilty to stirring up racial hatred. He's also been accused of hypocrisy today after it emerged that the UK is not among 9 countries calling for reform of the ECHR, despite Lord Hermer apparently specifically saying he would do so, and us having 1,200 mostly young men just nipping across the channel on Saturday. These latest revelations come just days after he was forced to...
1,200 new people coming across the channel. Seems like a daily occurrence, and there's no stopping it. And they just bring them in. They give them housing. They give them food. They give them a stipend. They give them a cell phone. Yet, what's going on with all the veterans in the United Kingdom itself? What goes on with all the less fortunate people who are already in the United Kingdom? They're being looked over for what essentially is replacement theory.
Apologise over comments in which he compared calls to leave the ECHR to the rise of Nazism. Well, I'm joined now by the former editor of The Sun, Calvin Mackenzie. Calvin, has he got to go?
Well, he may have to go, but of course he's good mates with the current Prime Minister, who I think is probably in the similar sort of position as Kemi Badenoch, to be honest. Be lucky if he's here next May. But dealing with this serious issue, he's the Attorney General. He is the top of the legal pyramid in this country. I didn't know, I don't think anybody else knew, that he'd signed off on the Lucy Connolly prosecution. I would say that was pretty unusual to start with. The other aspect to look at it, which is rather, I'd lower my eyes at it, is that he made his money in the past as being a human rights lawyer, as did the Prime Minister. They were used to fighting for foreigners and trying to keep them in their country, despite the fact that everybody in their country, bar those two who are making money out of it, would have got rid of them. So if Lucy Connolly said something disobliging about foreigners, isn't it not surprising that he feels he must act for them? And isn't it even worse, as has been revealed, and I think by Richard Tice tonight, that he refused to have a look at the sentence of a rapist who only got 28 months for attacking a woman, right? There's no ifs and buts about that. He gets 28 months, and yet 31 months for Lucy Connolly is considered appropriate. It's a tweet, for God's sake. It doesn't mean anything. One moment of anger suddenly becomes more important than a physical attack on a woman. Is that correct? And is it correct, by the way, that he also refuses to have addressed by the judges a sentence for a chap called Mohammed, who had sent money which he knew was going to a Syrian who was going to deal with it and send it towards terrorism? He doesn't do anything about that. So what do you... Could that be anything to do with his own background of making money out of those kind of communities for donkey's years?
So what do you think? Well, yeah, no, it's a fair question because of where we are, where there is a procession of what many people might regard as inexplicable decisions, on top of the fact that he's been inexplicably appointed as our Attorney General. He's an international human rights lawyer who mysteriously has a back catalogue of representing, I would argue, some of the worst people that have ever walked the face of the earth, a bizarre career choice, who is now the Attorney General, who gets to say over basically the country's laws, etc. I mean, why on earth is he in this position? I mean, and should we be worried about it?
Well, I'd be worried about it in one respect. After all, he had no political background. The reason he got the job is because he was one of Starmer's mates. And you can imagine, can't you, that they talk about legalese all day long. They talk about the great triumphs they've had by keeping various foreigners with rather dodgy backgrounds in our country and the kind of people that they like acting for, the kind of Adams of this world, right? So they have plenty in common. Starmer probably doesn't have many friends. When you see him in action, you can understand that if you were in a pub and you saw Starmer, you'd be out of that pub at 100 miles an hour. Whereas the funny thing is with Farage, actually, if you saw in there, you dive in to have a pint. That is the difference. And so I feel very concerned about this guy. And by the way, all the back stuff coming out of the cabinet is that they can't stand him either. They can't stand him because he's a nitpicking lawyer. I can't stand him because of his actions.
I really think that we are essentially being led by people who, for whatever reason, didn't go to Oxbridge, and maybe that weighs heavy like a giant chip on their shoulders, and have spent the last however many decades telling each other how brilliant and intellectual they are, who are now coming into contact with reality, and actually people don't really like them, and their views aren't that popular. Tough way to find out, isn't it? But Kelvin, look, thank you very, very much.
Interesting times of what's going on in the UK, Mike. You know, we have a lot of friends and family over there. We're all concerned about what's going on, and that's why we cover this, because it's an attack on the people of United Kingdom. We see this going on throughout Europe, and the people pushing back. We see it going on in the United States. It's even going up in Canada, where, you know, the existing, even in Chicago recently, I read a story about this earlier today, to where the African-American population, the black population, is actually fed up with what's been going on with the immigrants coming to Chicago, where they're getting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to go ahead and give them housing, to go give them food, give them a cell phone, give them money to spend. They're getting clothing. Yet people who are in the city of Chicago that need the city's support, you know what they're walking away with, Mike? $100, maybe $200 in funding, when all this other money is being pushed into the people who aren't here legally.
Which would then explain, Thomas, why the city of Chicago is going to hell in a handbasket. There was a story that came out recently about an NBC News reporter, a woman, and in broad daylight in Chicago, 1 p.m., she was physically dragged out of her car and carjacked, and nobody would stop it. So it's become like the wild, wild west in that city. It's lawless. They're focusing on the immigrants instead of focusing on protecting their own citizens.
Meanwhile,
it's pretty bad.
The governor of Illinois is coming, saying we're broke. We can't, essentially saying we're broke. We can't afford the Chicago Bears, and they're getting ready to go ahead and leave and go to Hammond, Indiana, where I know, at least in Indiana, that means Daryl, you're going to be getting the Indiana Bears or the Hammond Bears.
If Chicago loses the Bears after all this time, that's not something they're going to easily recover from.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, I don't think they would change the name. It'd still be, you know how Hammond's close to Chicago.
But we've had other, we had the 49ers move. We had a bunch of different teams move around to different places. And when they do, they keep the name, but they take the new city where they're going towards.
Well, yeah, those are major cities. Hammond is not a major city. You don't have name any small town in America. I'm just saying it'll be Chicago.
Yeah, well, you know what? Who's coming up for election this fall? J.B. Pritzker. Let's see if he makes it.
He's a moron.
Yes. Here's one thing I did not know this, and while I'm not a big fan of him, some people are out there, but I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, even if I get hit for it, because I didn't know that. Did you know that, Mike or Daryl, that Alex Jones was once a Screen Actors Guild voiceover king?
No.
Doing voices like Optimus Prime and doing commercials and everything?
No, Alex Jones was not Optimus Prime.
Oh, wait. Here we go. He'll do the voice. Let's play it.
Got it. By the way, have you ever done any sound effects for Hollywood, for movies? You would kill it. Have you ever done it? Have you ever done any sound?
I've never watched one of his podcasts. He's not on my list, but hear him do the voices and stuff. I get it.
Before Obama came along, I never tried to get in that, and then people said, "Hey, you want to do a voiceover for this?" So they Taft-Hartley. My voice is out right now. I can do better ones, but Taft-Hartley, when they put you in movies and stuff, you're automatically in the Screen Actors Guild. And so I got to where, right as Obama got in, I had some voiceovers because I was in the Screen Actors Guild, where it was being aired on TV over and over again. I would get like $500,000 checks, like one ad. Yeah, I would. I swear to God. And then they found out, wait a minute, you don't like Obama. So then I got blackballed and no more jobs.
So give me one of the examples of what you did. Like what cartoon
there we go.
Did you do it for?
I mean, I did movies, cartoons. And
seriously.
What I got paid the most for was like insurance company ads.
Rob, did you know this?
No.
I had no clue.
I didn't know it either.
Insurance company ads.
Yeah, I've done whatever the names were. Here at Mutual.
It's going to get better.
But you got the voice of God too, is what they call it. No, but even though my voice is out, I can give you some of the voice of God. Voice of God's like any of that big, like a return the map, return what you have stolen. You're in grave danger. So that's like from Time Bandits. I can do.
That's great.
Autobots. Autobots transform and roll out. Megatron, prepare to die. Megatron. But if I wasn't sick, I could do it better. And here's Darth Vader. If you only knew the power of the dark side, join me and I will complete your training.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I can do, but like if I have an insurance company ad or like a stock ad, it was the financial ones I got paid a lot. Because I forget that one, it was End of America, and it was like selling all sorts of financial stuff and instruments, and it was like experts believe the end of, and it was all this stuff. And I used to see it. I'd be in restaurants or bars, and the ad was on.
I had no idea, but
Megatron, prepare to die. I love it. I had no idea that he had as part of this. I saw this clip, and I was just like, you know what, Mike? I need to go ahead and clip this and play it back for the audience because somebody doesn't know, and I'm not a follower of Alex Jones. I've never watched any of his podcasts. We know he's extreme right on that particular, or extreme right on that. Well, audience is extreme right on that side of the fence, yes. But he's got the voice. He can do it.
He did an imitation of it.
No, but he got paid to do all that stuff. It wasn't Optimus Prime in the movies. It was Optimus Prime in the cartoons.
No. The same actor, the voice actor who did Optimus Prime in the cartoons and the movies, is an actor by the name of Peter Cullen.
All right.
He's been doing it for decades.
Well, we'll have to go ahead and find out all the different things he did. Either ways, he's got a voice beyond...
I've seen his podcast, and he's just really a little too much to take.
I know he's too much for me. I just saw this stuff on the voiceovers, and he's got a decent voice, what he can do. Good for him. He used to make $500,000 a year actually off of one commercial.
Yeah, until he got taken to court by those parents.
Oh, yeah, some shit happened. Yeah, people say some things, and I'm not gonna throw him under the bus for that. I'm just talking about it's nice to hear a good voice actor out there. Now, meanwhile, Hungary attends Trump's Board of Peace. Sounds like the replacement coming for the United Nations. Against the will of Ursula's. God, how do we get Ursula in? Isn't that like the name of the evil witch from Little Mermaid? Yeah.
Actually, it is, yeah.
All right, let's hear what Victor has to say about what's going on.
Hungary is the only country to be represented here on the highest level among the founding members from the European Union. I represent a country which has been living in the neighborhood of a brutal war for the last 4 years. We all know this war would not have broken out if President Trump had been in office at that time. However, President Trump's return to office offers a great chance to multiply the peace efforts not only in Gaza, but in Ukraine as well. We in Europe understand clearly that the security situation in the Middle East, and especially in Gaza, has a significant impact on the security of Europe. Therefore, our participation in the Board of Peace is not only based on principle, but also on our own security interest. Let me also share with you that there is serious talks going on in Europe about the Board of Peace and its future role. We understand that during the recent decades, international organizations have failed to fulfill their role to preserve peace and stability worldwide. Therefore, new initiatives are needed to bring forward the issue of peace globally. We are sure that President Trump's initiative to establish the Board of Peace is such a step to the right direction.
Interesting to see how Hungary's pushing back on where the EU is. There's a lot of countries, there's a lot of people pushing back. It's just a interesting, if you want to call it, situation though, that Europe is dealing with at this point. Can't wait to see where this all heads towards. Let's see what else I've got here. All right, heading back to UFOs for a second. Let's take this one with a grain of salt. We have Ross Coulthart talking about the Epstein files, intriguing references where Jeffrey is talking about information from prominent physicists. But wait, yes, we got to talk about that next. A prominent physicist in California was just killed again. This marks the second top physicist we've had in our country has been murdered unknowingly. My God, it sounds like what was going on in the third body problem, where top physicists around the world were getting terminated to prevent them from knowing the truth. Let's play this clip coming from Ross Coulthart on News Nation. All right, here we go. Let's play it. All right, folks, here we go.
In the Epstein files, there are multiple references, intriguing references, where Jeffrey Epstein, incredibly, is soliciting information from prominent physicists about propulsion and energy systems. I suspect he was doing this on behalf of the Israelis, and I hope it wasn't on behalf of the Russians, because that's another thing. He had a close relationship with the Russians. Let's hope that it was with the Israelis. If that's the case, it does imply what Haim Eshed, the leader of of the Israeli space program. He's the previous head of the Israeli space program, and he spoke in a Hebrew newspaper quite a few years ago now, and did this extraordinary interview where he revealed that Israel was well aware of the US legacy retrieval program for alien spacecraft, and he implied very strongly that there was a high degree of collaboration between Israel and the United States on propulsion systems and technology like energy systems. And I think it's no coincidence that the Epstein files that have still to be released, some of the redacted files very clearly show that there is a high degree of interest by Epstein in energy systems and propulsion systems. So
Yeah, interesting enough to say the least. I've got another video clip here coming in from CBS News out of Los Angeles talking about a prominent physicist who was murdered on his front porch. And as our audience has agreed, this is something that aligns to what was going on in a third body problem. What kind of science is going on out there that we're trying, and there's someone who's trying to keep silence from the public. Here we go.
Morning tonight after a renowned astrophysicist was killed during a carjacking.
Carl Grillmeyer was described as a brilliant man, a man who helped us better understand our own planet and the vast universe that surrounds us. CBS LA's Hunter Soward's live at Caltech in Pasadena with the very latest on this story. Hunter.
Juan, Susie, Carl was known here on this campus for his humor and for his creativity. Those I spoke to today said this is not only a huge loss for loved ones, it's a huge loss for the entire field of science. Shock and sadness on the campus of Caltech as colleagues mourn the loss of groundbreaking astrophysicist and astronomer Carl Grillmeyer.
We are shocked. This was so unexpected. Carl was full of life.
The 67-year-old killed Sunday in the Antelope Valley spent decades devoted to understanding the galaxies, studying the Milky Way, and making groundbreaking discoveries, helping scientists better understand our planet.
He was my mentor, my companion, my buddy.
Sergio Fajardo Acosta knew Grillmeyer for 26 years and worked alongside him at Caltech's IPAC department.
He is, and I say in the present tense, Carl is irreplaceable, because the ingenuity he injected into his research in astronomy is unparalleled.
According to the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, they responded early Monday morning to a shooting in the town of Llano, southeast of Palmdale. They say around the same time, reports of a carjacking eventually led them to the suspect accused of shooting Grillmeyer, who was quickly arrested and charged with murder and carjacking. Grillmeyer is now being remembered for his brilliance and generosity.
Always ready to teach, to share his knowledge. He never held anything back.
Grillmeyer's work spans decades, degrees, and achievements. With specific breakthroughs in the study of stellar streams, he made numerous scientific discoveries. While at Caltech, he worked for the Spitzer Science Center, and in 2011 was awarded the NASA Exceptional Scientific Achievement Medal.
He was an inspiration.
And the suspect
Interesting to
has been identified as 29-year-old Freddie Snyder. He's behind bars right now for carjacking and murder on a $2 million bond. We have reached out to the Sheriff's Department for more information on the circumstances leading up to this shooting, if this was random or targeted. Of course, we will continue to follow this story for you. We're reporting live tonight in Pasadena. Hunter Soward's CBS LA.
Hunter, thank you so much.
There we go, my friends. And another clip we have coming just from X, something Jesse Michaels just broke. We've got an interesting video coming up talking about people in Sweden who have just gotten access to their UFO files. Let's go ahead and listen to this clip, and it gives you an idea of what you can go ahead and get into on a 3 to 4 hour long form interview coming from Jesse Michaels. Let's play this intro clip. Here we go, folks.
It's not only a UFO library. It's about the unknown.
So how many countries do you have files from?
Oh, I don't know. I have no answer to that. But we have Japanese files, for instance, and Russian files.
Wow.
And they went out in the field and brought back debris.
What?
From this crashed object. They were standing on the other edge of this carriage, and they had very tight helmets, small heads, and some gloves. She was 8 meters from them.
Meet Klaus Svahn, journalist, author, and one of the world's most impressive UFO researchers. He's a real-life Swedish Fox Mulder, and that's because he's basically in possession of the modern X-Files. I'm not kidding. Since the early 1970s, Svahn has not only reported on the phenomena for Sweden's largest newspaper, but he's spent decades building, organizing, and preserving what is widely recognized as the world's largest UFO archive, the Archives of the Unexplained. This 16-room building houses detailed witness reports, photographs, audio recordings, radar data, video, and original first-generation documents that no longer exist anywhere else. Time travel? There's a time travel section? What is this, Brown and Burridge? Townsend Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Eureka, California. I met with this guy in his garage. We packed it all together and sent it back to Sweden. Behind you here is the oldest UFO group in the world, Borderland Science Research Association.
What? There's something very interesting about them. They knew more than intelligence in certain cases in the 40s. In this episode, we go over a half-century of overlooked evidence, radar-tracked objects executing impossible right-angle turns, military helicopters nearly colliding with wingless craft, sonar and radar returns, and of course, covert European UFO crash retrieval operations.
You know what we're going to need, folks, on this one, honestly, is we're going to need to get all this data digitized and thrown into an AI model, Mike, so we can go ahead and understand what is the culmination of all this information, which is something would take a human so much time to get through, but an AI platform should be able to get to it and just know instantly.
Pretty goddamn quickly. That's a good point, Thomas. You're absolutely right about that.
So we need to take the technology we have available to us and leverage it. When we get giant repositories like this, we need to take it. We need to have a plan to digitize it and get it into a system that can help us understand what we're really dealing with. Maybe this is some of the reasons why the Trump administration wants to move things forward, because as AI advances, Mike, more and more closer to general artificial intelligence, which means consciousness, and we're really close at this point. The truth is going to come out either way.
Yeah, plus now with the technology breakthroughs that we have with AI, we would need that to go through 80 plus years of information that the government's been sitting on this entire time. That might have something to do with the announcement as well.
Yeah, you know what? I look forward to everything. Let's watch a bit more of this. We got 2 minutes more to go. Here we go, folks.
We discussed the Swedish ghost rocket craze of the 1940s, a swarm of at least 1,400 documented rocket and cigar-shaped UFOs descending on Norway and Sweden, never landing on the ground, always plunging into water. A swarm that even caused the Swedish government to form a specialized military unit, and American President Eisenhower to send his top general James Doolittle to investigate. Klaus Svahn isn't just an archivist. Wow. He's a field investigator in his own right.
Again, folks, this is just coming out today. Head over to YouTube. Check out Jesse Michael's video. This just sounds amazing. Let's play more.
Interviewing experiencers and witnesses at the very center of UFO history. He spent a lot of time with Betty Hill of the famous Barney and Betty Hill 19...
Don't forget, the Obamas bought the rights to the story of Betty and Barney Hill. They have a deal with Netflix to produce a movie on it. Goes along with the story.
1961 abduction case in New Hampshire. Everybody knows about this canonical abduction story, but Klaus dug a little deeper and found out that Betty, outside of her abduction, witnessed a UFO crash near her home. She even recovered the debris, which she went on to bury in her backyard, where it still might be to this day.
I usually say that we are standing at the very top of a mountain of knowledge today.
Yes.
But the mountain is resting on this mountain that is even bigger.
Yes.
That is moving into the future.
This episode is one of the hardest core summaries of evidence for UFOs I've ever heard.
When you speak to other people, have you seen anything unnatural? Yes, but
Wait a minute.
don't want to talk about it.
Hold on, that sounds like metal gaming. Complete.
I looked up. I'm like, was that metal gaming?
Okay, let's go back to this again and play metal gaming with someone who's in the chat and he's in the back a lot. And I was just like, wait a minute. I was typing other stuff, getting things ready to this, typing to the chat. It sounded like him. Let's play it again.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
I've ever heard.
Speak to other people. Have you seen anything unnatural? Yes, but I don't want to talk about it.
I brought my buddy Amar Kandil from Yes Theory to the archives, and we had a blast. What is your top UFO photo? Without further ado, please enjoy this week's Swedish alchemist, Claes Svahn.
The Coin 405, are you out there? Join the back. People can understand how close your voice sounds to this guy. We'd love to have you back again. We saw you there before the show, heading over to Harold's. Come on, my friend. Jump in. Yeah. Amazing stuff, my friends. It's international. It's not just the United States. It's everywhere. But you know what we're missing? We're missing the information from India, from South Asia, from Asia itself. You know what I mean? Andy, go ahead, because you know what? It's a worldwide, from Australia, from South America, from everywhere. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah. Did I get that right? He was saying about Betty Hill had a previous or a UFO sighting potentially where a crashed UFO, and she collected some of this object and buried it in a back garden. Has anybody ever heard that before? I've never heard that.
No. Not even well on mushrooms.
No, I haven't heard it either, Andy.
Nobody's heard about that.
Yeah, it just struck me.
Yeah, it does. Let's go ahead. Well, we got 10 seconds left. Music, visual effects. There you go, folks. Great production value coming from Jesse Michaels. They throw a lot into this. And it's like his shows, they usually go for 2-3 hours, don't they? Andy, even some 4 on in some examples.
I must admit,
it's a long format of long format.
I've never joined one of the shows. I've never viewed any of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, I have. Yeah, you're right, Thomas. He's long format, like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
It's similar. Yeah, he goes hours with his interviews. He did that with the one he did with David Grusch, if you remember.
Yep.
That was
and even
interview.
more lately, some of the stuff that he's been getting into has even been longer, and it just gives you all the details, because you know what? In a lot of these interviews, they'll go on for 4 or 5 hours, right? But they only give you an edited down piece to fit a time slot. So what we're getting more really is the unedited conversation without all the quick cuts that go in to go ahead and make it into a piece like you'll get for social media, where as people are talking, there's pauses, they all go away. Where it comes out is there's people, there's pauses, they're all talking in it that way. And it's just really changed the cantor. More importantly, the believability of people. My God. Wow, Tim, you raised your hand. Livy, my friend, what's up?
Hey, Thomas. How's it going? I just had some stuff I had to add to today's topic.
Please do.
All right. So, we're all pretty excited, or at least I'm super excited now about the announcement coming from Trump. And so we know back on the 19th when he posted to Truth Social that he was directing the Secretary of State to go ahead and identify and release all of the records related to, quote, alien and extraterrestrial life. I think that's pretty specific. And we know that he can just disclose anything and declassify it just by saying it out loud. So I feel like that is fairly clear what that announcement is. And so, that kind of leveled my interest up right there. And then I wanted to get more into the timeline, and I looked a little deeper into the UK ufologist / filmmaker that actually disclosed this information, Mark Christopher Lee. And so his claims of the information directly came from a Trump advisor.
Right.
I think that's specifically pretty good information if it's, the truth. And so according to those reports that came through the Daily Mail, and this was back before 2026 that this interview took place, and then finally was released through outlets around February, right? So this information was released to Lee far before 2026. And that source alleged that the key details that he's, saying that this circle of intel is implying that there is the existence of a speech of proposed timeline, as you were kind of implying. And the content of that suggests that the speech will address specific historical modern incidents, including 1947 Roswell crash, 2004 USS Nimitz Tic Tac encounter, and the 2015 Gimbal and Go Fast videos. And so the timing, now we know initial speculation was revealing that it was going to be spoken about at the UN General Assembly, and then more recently pointed towards the July 8th, 2026.
Right. If I can bring this forward,
yeah.
These things that are being brought forward, I have to point out, Stephen Denier, however you pronounce this, how would you pronounce that, Tim? Diener.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Diener.
Stephen Diener.
Mm-hmm.
UAP, from the UAP Unidentified Alien podcast, he's actually made some calls out about what's going on. This isn't the first one. This is the guy who's actually getting in contact with the people. He was the one who brought out the story about Mark Christopher Lee first bringing all this out. He was the guy who actually did it. He connected with Lee. He brought out the story. And this has gone like global at this point.
Right. And you say global, and there are, in fact, global implications in connection with this timeline. And so now we know that specifics have been revealed, that kind of do show some urgency to release all of this information in a timely fashion.
Tim, it's almost like the way I've always put it. Humanity, let's just be clear, no, not humanity. The United States government ran into something a number of years ago. Coming out of that, we made a promise and signed something that said, by this particular date, you're going to do this shit and you're going to make it known to everybody. Otherwise, here's the repercussions of what's going to go. Now, coming out of this, if you agree to do this, we're going to give you technology, all these different things. But by this date, you have to bring it out. And knowing humanity, knowing Washington, we fucked it up. We didn't meet the protocols. We started seeing the implementation of, and we were told, you didn't do your shit. And now we're moving forward with what we said we wouldn't do if it did your shit, which caused our federal government, potentially and more, to go ahead and change what's happening. What we've got now is we're finally at the point, we had the UAPTF during Trump. RO came under Biden, and Biden was different. For whatever reason, the Democrat Party and Biden's administration shut all this stuff down, throwing the big fuck you to the non-human intelligence that potentially for the deals we made. So we're at a point now where we've recognized it, we're seeing it, and maybe there's some more information that we're not privy to, that's engaged Obama to go ahead and throw the pitch and Trump to go ahead and fucking hit the home run.
That's right.
It's not coincidence. Obama did not go ahead and say what's going on with this and say, are aliens real? You know, aliens are real.
Right.
Those questions that Obama went through were completely scripted, right?
I believe so too. And I think the specifics that were released, through this report help to verify that, because now we know that there are two agencies specifically going to be tasked for these files. Now, you're going to get a mixed reaction from the audience when you hear that they're tasking Arrow and the Pentagon. And so that's the sources that they're going to be getting their alien information from. And so that is pretty specific information. And they're looking at national archives and records, obviously, and the intelligence community. So there has been a proposed timeline. And, the fact is that timeline is available. You can source it yourself if you use the right Google.
But is the timeline from us, or is the timeline, hate to say it, of something we agreed to with a non-human intelligence?
Well, it looked like the phase one is identification coming right now through spring of 2026, followed by review and redaction with the spring and summer of 2026. The ongoing phase is the big reveal coming July 8th with that 2026 with that big Roswell 79th anniversary speech coming from the president, followed by rolling releases coming late 2026 and beyond. Now, the catch, obviously, the president has the power to declassify anything, yet who knows if that means that we're talking orbs, craft, radar, or what we're actually physically going to get. But I think the fact that we do see that there was a planned timeline just shows us that this was something.
Quick question, Tim.
Slow release.
Outside of the scope of the norm and what's understood, if we have the executive branch, right? And as part of the executive branch, you have the president, all the people he appoints and everything that's going on, which changes out every 4 years, potentially. But then you have this other part of the executive branch that's out there that extends and is enabled from administration to administration that handles the deal with the non-human intelligence or potentially the management of the information that regards to what we're dealing with.
Right. Well, I think the fact that they're calling this a, quote, big reveal coming with this speech may hint kind of at what that is all about. And I think that this audience definitely knows what that is because, you've been talking about it for years. But the general public, this is news. And I think to hear it from, a sitting president is a first, and to have documents to support it. I think this is a short timeline for us to consider 1 year. That's a pretty short timeline. Now, I hate to highlight the review and redaction portion coming through this spring and summer, but I think we knew that was going to happen to a certain extent. Now, how deep that redaction goes is yet to be seen, but I kind of believe that social media will keep this kind of honest because there will be an outcry if those redactions get too deep. And now we know X is not a great place to source information, but it's definitely a place that even the news kind of goes to, including people in government. It's their first stop when they're talking on this topic.
Absolutely, Tim. If I can, I just got a reminder of time commitments that are going on.
You got it.
Absolutely. Brian Pemble, your hand is up, my friend, before we wrap this up.
Yes, I'll be brief. I thought that was great, Tim and Thomas. Two things. One, It'd be interesting to see if George Bush or Bill Clinton comes out with anything on this in the near future. That would be quite fascinating if somebody can ask them a question on this topic. The other thing is can they pry? Is there a legal way to pry non-human intelligence? Just the fact that biologics are out and about.
You know what biologics give us, Brian?
Can they pry it from the Atomic Energy Act?
Just really quick, biologics give us the opportunity to acknowledge there's something here without actually admitting that there's been a craft here that we've been taking and trying to re-engineer.
Exactly right. And
it's a way out.
It should not be covered under the Atomic Energy Act.
Right. Bingo.
And that way the president can get around it.
Exactly, my friend. Now, it may have been tied to the craft that had an energy system like that, but maybe they can go ahead and cover it up. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody for coming out to this episode of Disclosure tonight. One hell of a great time. Thanks, everybody, for being around for our episode today. Yeah, we'll continue on a Monday, see where it goes. And yeah, we're covering stuff from the United States, what's going on with disclosure for around the world. But you know what? We do deal with global politics. And today we had a insight on UK. We cover them. We cover Canada. We cover all around the world, my friends. Yeah, we've got scary things going on with Iran. So on that, folks, I want to go ahead and thank you for everybody coming out to this episode. More importantly, I want to go ahead and thank Lord McCormick once, Lord McCormick twice. This is Liz and Brian Pemble for all your love and support for what we do here. Mike, thanks for coming out to tonight's episode.
Oh, my pleasure. I wouldn't have missed it. It was a great episode tonight.
Oh, God, yeah. Gotta have a great time. We do this live for you because you know what, we try to go ahead and collect the best information we can about what's going on in disclosure and present it in a way that's fun and informative and feels like a community from people hanging out and talking about whether they're on one side of this or the other. We want to hear your thoughts on everybody. You know, that's why we have the back chat open, and it's open for everybody, right, Mike?
Yeah, that's right. It's like your local hangout,
your local bar and grill, yeah.
Everybody gets to come hang out and talk.
Yeah, exactly. On that point, I want to thank everybody for coming out to this episode of Disclosure tonight. And as we say at the end of this show, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you in the flip side. Good night, everybody. Take care.